Cultural Council. I represent the town and the select board as co-chair. Starting this Thursday, September 16th, they're launching Art Week Berkshires. It's a 10-day countywide festival which features artists and creative organizations. There'll be more than 100 events all over the county, visual artists, musicians, photographers, dancers, and actors. Most events are in person, but some will be virtual to accommodate COVID concerns. Art Week Berkshires is sponsored by 5 cultural districts. Great Barrington is one of them. Lenox, North Adams, Pittsfield, and Williamstown are the others. Included in sort of great is the 25th Annual Festival Latino here in Great Barrington on the 25th at Town Hall. But in addition to works created by individual artists, there's hands-on and family-friendly events at some of the large institutions like Norman Rockwell, Clark, and the Berkshire Museum in the Mount. There are 25 open studio events. This was originally a statewide event run out of Boston, but COVID ended that. So this year, the local cultural districts worked together to cross-promote to do this. And to find out more information, there's a very long link that I'm not going to read out. Just Google Art Week Berkshires to get there. And if any member of the press would like a press release on this, just contact me or Chris Rembold, and one of us will get it to you. So there's that. The other thing I have is a little bit longer. Sorry about this. The select board appointed me as the point person for the legal cannabis businesses in Great Barrington. So I'm giving a quick update. There was an article in the Berkshire Edge on August 25th that was with the headline, "Since 2019, Great Barrington has raked in $6.7 million in cannabis revenue." This is not a complaint about the article. The Berkshire Edge is wonderful. The subheadline referred to the community impact fee as legalized extortion. And that's what I want to address locally. And since I wrote the host agreement, I want to assure the board that it is not extortion. So in the article, the Massachusetts Cannabis Business Association, they're the ones who referred to it as legalized extortion. The article referenced a Commonwealth magazine opinion piece that they wrote, in which they said it was hard to make a case that there's any negative community impact. And they gave some examples. There were no reported sales to minors, no increased crime, no increase in DUI, no negative impacts on nearby businesses or neighborhoods, no staffing or budget increases in police, fire, health departments attributable to cannabis stores. The good news is they're mostly right. There are also some benefits. Legal marijuana has positive impacts in employment, in real estate taxes, and in tourist dollars spent elsewhere. So some or most of that may be true. There's definitely a negative impact to legal marijuana. And I just want the select board in the town to know that Great Barrington is spending the community impact funds legally according to the CCC, that's the Cannabis Control Committee's regulations, and according to our host agreement. And we are spending the money specifically to target negative impacts. So a few of them are police costs. For us, they've been minor, but not non-existent. We've got one officer trained at identifying DUI. Right now, there's nothing like a breathalyzer for pot. The cost for that was not paid by our community impact funds, although certainly it would have been eligible. There may be increased DUI. None has been detected, but that's because detection is difficult right now. There are medical issues. This is fun to say, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, and sorry about this part, cyclic vomiting syndrome, and other emergency room visits. According to the Western Journal of Emergency Medicine, they see a significant increase in the incidence of those syndromes and other marijuana-related visits to emergency rooms in states that have legalized marijuana. The incidence of cyclic vomiting doubled in Colorado after legalization. So there are medical impacts we're going to see. But here's the big one. Youth acceptance of a normalized behavior. It's way too early to say there's no impact there. What we do know is there's a perception among our youth that the adult community is friendly to substance use. And I'm going to give you 3 examples. The South Berkshire Health Coalition does a survey of students from 8th grade to 12th grade every 2 years. And this is their most recent survey, and this is just for the high school seniors. They were asked, how wrong do you think it is for someone your age to drink alcohol? 11% said there was nothing wrong. Same question about pot. Twice as many, 22% said nothing was wrong. How wrong do your friends feel it would be for you to have 1 to 2 drinks nearly every day? 69% said it would be wrong or very wrong. Asked about pot use every day, only 38% said they thought their friends would think it was wrong. And this is the one I find most astounding. In the past year, about how many adults have you known personally who have used marijuana or other drugs? 63% said at least one, and 17% said 5 or more. So there's very little good research on the long-term impacts of pot, but we do know with certainty that marijuana use by people younger than their mid-20s can have a permanent impact on their developing brains. Legal marijuana makes spreading that fact to teens very important. And that's what we've been doing with our Community Impact Fund money. This is also according to the Cannabis Business Association editorial. They say that a smart approach to these impact fees would be permitting collection for actual costs, which towns would need to verify through annual reports, while protecting cannabis businesses from making payments beyond what the law allows. So happy to report again, we're doing everything we do, the town does is open and verified, and all of our expenditures of this community impact funding are reported annually. A quick explanation of the process, which I'm sure you guys know. Every year at town meeting decides how much of the community impact funds that we've collected to spend in that year. A couple of years ago at town meeting gave the town manager the authority to distribute that amount of money. The town manager appointed a committee to advise him. They have a process where they make recommendations, and then press goes out to tell you what organizations got grants. Last year, which was the first year grants were made, Berkshire Hills Regional School District got money, Railroad Street Youth Project, Berkshire South Community Center, Volunteers in Medicine, and Construct all received this money. I forgot to mention that the Select Board's representative to this committee is Garfield, so he's also well aware of this. They are required to report back after a year of how they spent the money, which will be any minute, this month or next. So all of this is publicly known, how the money is spent. This current year, there are clear application guidelines, all of which relate specifically to mitigating the negative impacts. So I want to be very clear, our local cannabis retailers have not called this legalized extortion. At this point, they haven't balked at paying the agreed upon fees. On the contrary, they've been great neighbors and partners. Right? Theory built this new building we collect taxes on. They were very responsive in the beginning about the early traffic problems. Calyx has that beautiful mural on their building. They were also a major sponsor of Berkshire Busk. And Farnsworth and Rebel have both spruced up older buildings in town that are operating successfully. I just want Great Barrington voters to know, and this board to know, that the host agreements we have approved are legal, that the money we have spent is actually working to, among other things, help parents and teens address substance use. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm sorry that took so long. I just, it was timely because of the article.
Thanks for that report.
Thanks, Ed. Lee?
I represent, excuse me, I'm on the housing subcommittee, and it's the joint committee that the members of the planning board and select board are on. And I wanted to let everyone know that on September 20th at 1 p.m., we'll be meeting, which is Monday, the agenda will be posted shortly. We'll be meeting to discuss the housing crisis that's going on in Great Barrington, and specifically, we'll be discussing a draft of what a short-term rental bylaw might look like. So we're going to start that discussion on Monday, September 20th at 1 p.m. We're also going to be doing a deep dive into the housing needs assessment that was completed last year. And I invite everyone that is interested in housing to join us and take a look. Again, the agenda with the Zoom link will be posted, but that will be September 20th at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Garfield, are you able to make that meeting?
I don't know for sure, Stephen.
Can you get a hold of Lee or Pedro or Jonathan so they can work out a time that you can make it?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I have nothing, so we will move ahead. Town manager's report.
Thanks, Steve. Just a few quick updates this evening. Houstonic Waterworks As discussed at our last meeting, we have a series of working meetings scheduled now to discuss what the next steps might look like with all the various players and to continue to advocate for village residents. We met with the Great Barrington Fire District representatives on September 8th. We're meeting with the Houstonic Waterworks Company this coming Wednesday, September 15th. We have a meeting with both regulatory authorities, DEP and DPU, as well as our local legislators, Representative Pignatelli and Senator Hines, on Wednesday, September 22nd. Keep in mind that we have a date set to meet with Houstonic water users on October 12th. It's a Tuesday evening at 6 o'clock, and we'll advertise that widely as we get a little closer. And our hope, of course, is to have some updates to share that evening and allow time to hear from residents as well. Moving on to recent committee appointments, I just wanted to take this opportunity to announce that I've made a few appointments to town committees. I appointed 2 new members to the Houstonic Improvement Committee at the recommendation of that committee. Those 2 members are Daniel Bialos and Louise Goldsmith. And then 1 appointment to the Community Impact Funding Committee. So this rounds out the 5 members, and that's Tori Pajeski. So thank you to those individuals for stepping up and volunteering their time to serve the town. And then I'm gonna conclude here with some good news also. Route 71 grant funding for paving. We were notified recently that Great Barrington qualified for a project that was funded in the state's 2021 transportation bond bill through the municipal pavement program. So the 1.1 mile section of Route 71 between or Egremont Plain Road between Route 23 and the Egremont town line will be paved by state contractors in fiscal year 22. So before June 30th of the coming year. And Sean will work with Mass DOT engineers to include pedestrian safety measures in that design. And I just wanted to mention that this will save the town roughly $750,000 and will allow us to pivot that funding to other priority projects, since this stretch of road was scheduled for replacement by the town within a year or 2 anyway. So thank you to Sean for his work with Mass DOT on this one. This is a big win for the town, and Sean's on the line to provide some other public works project updates.
Hello again. So we'll start off with some of the work updates on the work that you might have seen around town. Allegheny Construction started the rehabilitation of the wall on Taconic Avenue. You can see them working over there, and they're actually moving along pretty fast, and I anticipate them being done a little bit in front of schedule, provided we can get the replacement stones we need in the wall, because they do need to get some work on the front steps, also being done by Allegheny Construction. We expect that work to start this week, maybe end of this week. The entrance to Town Hall, the main entrance used, will be closed off until the project concludes. So we'll be changing the traffic flow patterns at the end of this week, and we will have signage up dictating that. But the main sort of little parking area as you pull up the hill will be lost for a few months. So just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Reifenberg Construction has started work on Bridge Street and Bentley Ave. You might have seen them down there with the sidewalks being ripped up. So they're moving along on schedule, and hopefully we'll be able to conclude that work this fall. That work does include the Taconic parking lot, the charging station installations, new lights, and the pollinator installation on Main Street, which we expect to start within a week or 2. We're finalizing the contract with Baltazar Construction for Rosser Street, Fairview Terrace, Elm Court, that area over on Fairview Terrace, all scheduled to get ripped up and repaved. And hopefully I'm going to get the schedule to you guys in the next week or so. So we'll have an idea time frame on that. The CHP trail along Route 7, everyone's probably seen it's been stalled for several months, partly because of rain, but mostly because we're waiting on approval from Mass DOT on some submittals for the wall. And that portion of the wall along Route 7 is on Mass DOT property. So things are backed up there, as they are everywhere. And once we receive the approval on the submittals for the wall, we'll get the project started back again and hopefully finish soon. The project will be done, I'm assured, by the end of this fall. We opened bids for the culvert replacement project in Christian Hill. AJ Virgilio was a low bidder at $450,000. They expect to start the work this fall, and we will get a schedule from them hopefully soon. If it looks like weather will be a problem, then they'll postpone and start in the spring, but they're hoping to start this fall. There are issues getting supplies, pipe and culverts and stuff, so the supply chain issues are really going to dictate if we can get that work done this fall. The Division Street Bridge project, which everyone's keenly interested in, we submitted the notice of intent to the Conservation Commission, and I'm glad to say that they were approved with no real questions or concerns. We've also submitted the Chapter 85 review to Mass DOT. We expect to hear back from them on approval in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Once we receive approval, we will be going up to bid. So hopefully we will be opening bids this winter, early winter, and get a start this winter as well, for hopefully substantial completion by next summer. That's the current time frame. It looks like we're going to meet it, barring any real hiccups with the Chapter 85 review process. The other project happening downtown, as if there wasn't enough, is a slip lining project, the sewer main, which will happen at night and no one will probably even notice it, but we'll be slip lining the sewer main from the roundabout to St. James Place. That will be started in October. Additionally, Kurtz Construction will be replacing the boiler at Ramsdale in October or November, likely. We opened bids for that a little while ago, but they had some issues getting the boiler. One bit of bad news that I needed to bring up tonight was we opened the bids for the Housatonic school roof tarping and the windows. We had received quotes from La Rochelle Construction for in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 last spring. We had one bidder on the project, and their bid was $95,000. So that definitely put some hiccups in the plans to do that work. And I'll be looking forward to talking to you guys moving forward about next steps.
Questions, comments? With the number of projects we have, Sean's going to be a regular contributor to these meetings because there's just so much going on. And this is a good way of updating the board and updating the citizens.
Can I just clarify, the hiccups you're talking about are the low and only bid was significantly more than town meeting put forward to cover.
Yeah, so if it wasn't clear, I think we had $25,000 or $30,000 set aside town meeting. I can't remember. We are 3 times that, and that is due in part to issues with construction material, but to a large extent, it's due to shortages in labor and skilled labor specifically. It's just a different market out there than it was even 6 months ago. And it's increasingly difficult to come up with cost estimates and then to actually have the project come in. That's an extraordinarily high number, considering what most people thought would be a $5,000 or $6,000 project. I mean, often people would say, why don't you just tarp the roof? Why don't you just board up the windows? And you can see now why it's sometimes complicated to get things done in a timely fashion.
Lee?
Well, that was my question, Sean. I just, for those that, do ask, why don't we just do it ourselves? I just wanted you to emphasize the reason why the town is not taking on that work.
Yeah, it's mass procurement law. We're not allowed to just go in there and board up windows if the threshold hits over $10,000. It's much more complicated than that, I want to add. It's not just a $10,000 threshold. There's a whole bunch of different criteria. In this case, we had to have design documents done. We hit the threshold where we knew we'd have to have a bidding process. And this is what you end up getting sometimes is a favorable market for contractors looking to capitalize on a project like this. They're hoping we move forward and they're going to make a substantial profit. It's just something that we always are aware of when we go forward these things.
So Sean, follow up. So what's the B plan then? If
that'll be our decision.
Yeah, I mean, is that
probably at the next meeting we'll talk about that.
Okay, I'd like to put that on. Thanks.
Yeah, Eileen.
Okay, am I?
You're on.
Oh, good. I'm unmuted.
Yes.
That I was going to ask what Lee just asked, and can the windows go ahead being boarded if the roof is not? Does that make any sense? Or is that something you'll just discuss next meeting?
Sean, you can answer the first part.
I think it probably will be contingent by me to look to see if there's any other ability to pivot funding sources, which I don't believe there is, but to see if we can break up the bid in a different manner, maybe do part of something, part of another. But I need some time to sort of look through the bid documents, talk to the architect, and hopefully have some sort of recommendation to you guys, or at least some thoughts for you guys to give some feedback. But yeah, I don't have a good answer right now.
Thank you. Charlie Williamson, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question on the behind Car Hardware, the parking lot there. I hear
Yes.
you're still talking about the charging station.
Yeah, they're part of the plan.
Bring it below. Hold on. Say that again.
They are part of the plan. They were part of the RFP, and they are going in.
I don't understand. So we're paying for somebody that can afford a electric car. We're paying, and then you're also going to lose a couple parking lots, spaces there to electric cars now.
That right now is the plan. Yes.
Well, all plans can be changed. I don't know why we're spending money on something that we could save money.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you for nothing.
Anyone else before we move ahead?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, related to that question that the gentleman brought up, I'm just curious: are there grants to put electric charging stations in? Is that part of a wider?
Sometimes there are. We didn't receive a grant for these. There is a plan to put some more behind Town Hall when we redo the campus, and we'll be applying for that grant again as well.
Okay.
So we did apply. We didn't get a grant for this, unfortunately, but there are grants, at least usually for one. I have received them before.
So the two spots that we are planning right now, that we're paying for that completely. Just
Right.
Not to put you on the spot, but I guess I am, Sean. How much is it for a charging station?
So I can't say off the cuff with too great a certainty. I can say the last one I put in, I think, was in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $15,000. It might be a little more now. I'd have to look up the bid documents to let you know. It is a substantial draw for some people to come in and be able to charge their car and go shopping or go to a restaurant. There are not that many around, so there are some economic impacts, the positive as well as environmental impacts, obviously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Mark, anything else?
Actually, I have a question, Stephen.
Go ahead, Garfield.
Regarding the stations, the charging stations, is there any reason why we cannot charge for the use of that electricity?
We can if you choose to. It's not a huge ordeal to put in a credit card machine or something on them. The numbers in terms of what is expended is not very substantial. And there is cost incurred to have to process the billing and stuff. I can give you a better number tomorrow on what I think it costs for an average.
Why don't we just do it at the next meeting, Sean?
Okay.
I would like to know that personally at the next meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
So it's making some money.
Okay, Trevor Forbes.
Yes. Hi, good evening, and thank you for taking my comment. Trevor Forbes, 325 North Plain Road. I did a few back of the envelope calculations on the cost of charging up an electric vehicle based on a monthly range of 300 miles. You can look this up on the internet quite easily. And on the basis that you are looking at the probably somebody doing rather more than 300 miles a month, I would like to suggest that the actual electricity cost of this could be quite substantial. It's supposed to be an electricity cost of around about $30 for the 300 miles, something of that sort of order, I believe, in terms of the amount of electricity consumed. Now, if I had an electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid, I think I'd be very happy to drive my other car with it to behind the town hall and load it up overnight. What is there to stop me from abusing the system? Because this means that somebody is getting basically fuel for nothing, whereas I have to pay for the fuel that I use.
Thank you, sir.
May I suggest maybe we put this as an agenda item?
Yeah, I've already said that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda right now, so we will put it on the next meeting, assuming Sean's available. And we'll continue this discussion. Anyone else? Okay, Mark, anything?
All set, thanks, Steve.
Okay, license and permits. Catherine Stuckey for a one-day beer and wine license for a reception after the memorial service for John Stuckey to be held at Berkshire South Community Center, 15 Chrissy Road, on Saturday, September 25th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the application by Catherine Stuckey for a one-day beer and wine license for a reception after the memorial service for John Stuckey to be held at Berkshire South Community Center on September 25th from 3 to 7 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, vote, roll call. Garfield? Garfield was yes. Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
And Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Before we go to new business, we're at 24 attendees and 6 panelists for a total of 30 people at tonight's meeting. Under new business, Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the following proclamation. Whereas the town of Great Barrington joins the nation in celebrating Hispanics who have made outstanding contributions to the United States of America. And whereas since 1988, the United States has observed National Hispanic Heritage Month, commemorating the independence of Chile, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and Nicaragua from September 15th through October 15th. And whereas Hispanics in the United States have established America as a place of freedom and opportunity, and their contributions such as serving in the Army, providing medicine, providing architectural styles, improving economic life, and by providing food, continue to enrich our nation's character. And whereas America's cultural diversity and optimism for a brighter future has always been one of our nation's greatest strengths. And whereas together we recognize the community of Hispanics in Great Barrington, whose love of family, strong work ethic, and sense of community have helped unite us all. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Selectboard of the town of Great Barrington do hereby encourage the citizens of Berkshire County to join us in celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. In witness, therefore, we have hereunto on this 13th day of September 2021.
Do I have a second? Second. A second from Ed. Roll call vote. Garfield.
Can I ask something first?
Of course.
Or suggest? And this may be small, and I could even be wrong. I mean, it's political stuff, but is this not featured as Festival Latinos and would be more appropriate as opposed to being Hispanic?
Well, this is National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay.
This month is. And so we're endorsing that is what we're doing.
No, I understand that, but I guess I'm speaking semantics. And if Latino is a better appropriate word is what I guess I'm querying about.
This is kind of a boilerplate proclamation, I believe, that other towns are using. And we can look into it at some point, but I don't know if we want to rewrite the whole thing.
I understand. I'm just wanting to be.
No, I appreciate that. Anyone else? So roll call vote.
And aye, by the way.
Okay. Thank you, Garfield. Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Next is a special permit application review from the Great Barrington Historic Preservation LLC, Paul Jaffe, 198 Main Street. Hold on one second. We got a lot of feedback. Review and comment to the planning board on the application which seeks relief from the sign bylaw regulations that require freestanding signs to be not closer than 10 feet to the traveled way. The sign is located at 198 Main Street. So can we start with, I see a hand up, so. First, I would like, Chris, would you? I think I just promoted Chris, I hope. Chris, can you just give us an overview on this, the technical nature of this, and I'll promote Travis Durr, who's going to speak for the applicant.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So everybody knows the site, 198 Main Street, is owned by GB Historic Preservation. It's known as the Flying Church, Paul Jaffe's project. There's a large freestanding sign currently existing. It's not compliant with the sign bylaw, and so the applicant has applied in accordance with the sign bylaw for a special permit from the planning board to seek certain deviations from the sign bylaw regulations. So that is what the planning board is hearing, I believe, October 13th? No, I'm sorry, I forget the exact date of the public hearing. In any case, the select board's in the course of usual special permits is being asked for a review and comment to the planning board on this matter. Thank you, Chris.
Travis Durr, do you have some comments to represent the applicant?
Can you hear me correctly?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So I apologize if this is out of turn because we do have a DAC meeting this weekend, or sorry, not this weekend, but this Wednesday. So I feel like things might be going a little bit backwards for that, but I apologize.
No, this is fine.
Okay. In regards to this property, Paul Jaffe is adamant in saying that the sign was approved with the building plans of the building, and that is his entire point of contention and what he wants to strive for. So this is the reason why we are doing the special permit, because that our relief should be from, it was initially approved, even if it wasn't supposed to be with those plans.
Thank you. Chris, do you want to respond to that at all since you were part of the special permit process, or would you rather not?
Well, the original special permit, I believe, was issued by the select board probably back in 2015. It involved the renovation, the raising of the existing church, the demolition of the old parsonage, the construction of a new building on the corner. So it was a pretty extensive renovation and new construction plan, new parking. I believe a sign was shown on those original plans. On the site plan, it appears as a single line on those plans, but no details are given as to what the sign would be. The orientation of the sign indicated on those approved site plans is different than the existing sign. So while it's not for this particular board to decide, it's more for the planning board to decide whether or not that sign that was erected is compliant with the special permit or not. I don't believe it is. It appears different in all ways. I guess that's for your consideration in the planning boards.
Thank you, Chris. Some select board comments?
Is there anyone here, or is there anyone speaking? Is there a reason not to get the permit? Is there a problem with it? Is it dangerous? Is anyone?
So we already had an email today from Chris outlining the fact that the sign is non-compliant in 3 different ways, and it was never approved. So in my mind, then that's the reason. It doesn't meet any of it wasn't applied for, and it doesn't meet any of it doesn't meet 3 of the specifications in the sign regulations.
Can I ask a question? Just
of course.
So if this is, they're asking for the select board to give them a special permit, but then it's the planning board's obligation to say if it complies with.
No. What we're doing is we're making a recommendation to the planning board our feelings, whether they should be approved or not.
Okay.
We have no power other than just to make a recommendation.
So I guess to disagree with Steve, we got somebody who's fixed up a dilapidated building, got something that was not on the tax rolls, and they got a non-compliant sign, which unless it's dangerous, I don't see why the planning board would excuse it.
Yeah, so we'll disagree on this one because I don't think how much money you spend or what you do gives you a right to have a non-compliant sign. We'll respectfully disagree.
I'm okay with that.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion for a negative recommendation to the planning board on the special permit application from GB Historic Preservation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Discussion.
Again, I would say the sign's there, it's not causing trouble. I don't know why we would be against it. I haven't heard a reason of
other areas. That can cause trouble in other areas because then you're letting something go, which you shouldn't, even though it may not be a problem. It still presents a problem because it's not within, it doesn't conform. So it would be a problem and could branch off to others' problems. So
presumably the planning board has the authority to give a special permit. So the fact that it doesn't conform isn't automatically a reason to not let it conform.
A little backwards. Usually the sign's not put up and then the special permit's applied for.
Either way, if they're applying for a special permit, I would ask, what are the reasons to not grant the special permit? The fact that it doesn't conform is why they're asking for a special permit. It doesn't seem like a reason to deny it. There should be a reason of, I don't know if it hits the same 5 categories we use for our special permits, but.
Well, to be honest, the argument that the Paul Joffe's representative made was not anything to do with whether it complies or not. It had to do with the fact that it was part of the original special permit application, which you and I were both part of,
right.
which makes us old. And it was not part of that.
Right. That's why I asked if there's anyone speaking against it. We don't have any information at all about whether it's a good or a bad thing, which is why they're asking for the special permit.
Well, I'm not sure who's feedbacking, but to speak and to echo Garfield's point, we have sign code regulations for a reason, and the fact that it just was represented on the plan as a line, I don't see why we would allow this to go forward.
One of those sign code regulations allows for a special permit to deviate. I'm just trying to be business friendly. We got someone who's invested money. He's not going to be asked to spend money to move a sign or take it down. Not our money, it's his. And there's no reason to make him spend the money, and I don't.
I would say this. Go ahead, Garfield. Sorry.
I'm just saying, if you did conform from the beginning, then you're not going to have to spend the money. So maybe they need to spend the money to make you conform, and that's not our issue. It's not our fault.
Again, the sign bylaw allows for a special permit. So to say not conforming to the bylaw, he's applying to conform to the bylaw. We're saying no because he doesn't already, which is sort of a tautology on saying no to special permits.
I would say this, a couple things. First of all, I don't think this has anything to do with being business friendly. And second of all, I would vote against it because I think the sign is too close to the road and is too big. So that recommendation on itself, it doesn't fit, it doesn't conform to what other downtown signs are. So I would say that. Mr. Durr, you wanted to say something? Go right ahead.
Sure. I don't want to preach to your code that but I was just filling out the application and I go with Ed Abrams in this representation. The special permit application is there to alleviate this. I know it is a kind of backwards thing that the sign is already up, but I do want to make that statement that this special permit application and rule set diverges regularly from the usual happenstance of Great Barrington for these sorts of problems to be addressed and to have an outlet and community to follow through with them.
Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else? So it's a roll call vote. Garfield?
If we're voting to get a negative, I'm saying I vote negative.
So no, we're voting to give a negative recommendation, so I can be clear. So if you want a negative recommendation, you vote yes.
Yes.
It's always backwards when we do this. It's a little confusing. Eric? You're muted, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Ed?
Oh.
Ed, that's a no. Lee?
Aye.
And aye, so it's 4-1 that we pass a negative recommendation to the planning board. Okay. Well, that's quick. Citizen speak time. Erica Milkey.
Hi, Erica Milkey, 13 East Street in Great Barrington. Two things, they're both very quick. One is related to I recently heard from some parents, so I'm the mother of a 12-year-old, and I've heard from a couple of his friends and their parents that some of the kids are smelling marijuana outside of Calyx. I've never personally smelled it, and I don't know if people are buying it and then smoking on the street or what's happening, but that kids are not wanting to go to Tom's Toys on their own because of the negative smell. Like
we will look into it. I've not heard that at all from anyone, but
Okay.
we'll look into it.
Okay, great. And the second thing was I just wanted to thank Garfield for at least bringing up the question of the Latino and Hispanic thing. Garfield, I research this all the time because it's so confusing. But the bottom line is that Hispanic is usually like people that come from a place where they speak Spanish. And Latino is usually for people who are from Latin America, although Brazil is like its own thing. So in this instance, the countries that were in the proclamation that Lee listed are all places that got independence from Spain. So Hispanic is the right term, but it is definitely debatable and not everybody follows these groupings.
Appreciate that very much, Erica.
Yep, thanks guys.
Thanks. Charlie Williamson.
You hear me, Steve?
Yes, we can, Charlie.
Okay, I really would like some help on this, and everybody knows what I'm going to be talking about, but we need an open mind on this. And I'm talking about the traffic at Great Barrington. It's been there for years. You can't get through the town. I've got some suggestions. I'd like you to really consider them. Some are short term and some are long term, and I know you need the state help. But here's the short term. Cottage Street light. Just last week, I went 3 times in one day down to Car Hardware. And that light 3 times as I was heading south turned red for no one there. And it held up the traffic both north and south. That was 3 times, 3 trips into Barrington, which I avoid with the plague. I don't go into Barrington because of the traffic. If that light should be turned off, well, you know there's a problem. There's a problem with that light. There's no reason for it to be turning red. None whatsoever. And I brought this up last year in November when I was deer hunting. At night, that light turns red. That's the short term. There's another one, is the traffic lights in Great Barrington. Now that we're past Labor Day, I believe we should try at least run a test of having them flashing and have it 7 p.m. at night to 7 a.m. in the morning, go on flashing. The town did it 3 other times when I asked back years ago, and it did help the flow of traffic. Long term, the town has to take a look at it with the state. There has to be something done with the pedestrians. I mean, yes, we let them go across, but you'll get one group go across, another group go across, another group go across, and the traffic doesn't move. It's backed all the way up when you're coming north, all the way past the police station, sometimes all the way down to Big Y. You can't get through the town. And we have to get some flashing lights and get them all on time and give them time to cross and then let the traffic flow. The other one is when the town had the rebuild on the main street, prior to that, when you were heading north, when you came to Taconic Avenue, you had a green arrow to turn left and go up Taconic Avenue. Now it's just a red light and you back up the outside lane all the way up, waiting for one car to turn left to go up Taconic Avenue where you should let that car go. And then also on that rebuild, you had pedestrian flashing lights at the post office. They took those lights down. I don't know where they put them, but on all the crosswalks in Barrington, there should be flashing lights to bring it attention that there are pedestrians there, and we need to have a light go flashing when people are going to walk across. We need help in this area, and it's time somebody sits down there and take a look at the flow of traffic. And in some places, you generally on where your main flow is north and south, you put in 2-minute lights. That keeps the traffic moving, and that you would probably see a better flow through the town if you had 2-minute lights north and south. And this is one other little thing. Whenever you go past, this is nothing to do with the traffic. This is just another thing I see in town. When you go by the firehouse and they got all the bays open, whether the trucks are in or out, they have all the lights on. And I guess Great Barrington thinks electricity's free because we want to put in free parking places with chargers, which I'm totally against. When I buy my car, I expect to pay for my gasoline. When they buy their electric cars, they should pay for their own electricity. And I shouldn't be paying for, I shouldn't be paying for meters with my house taxes that I don't need.
Your time is up, Charlie. I've written down all your comments. I'll talk to Sean and Mark about them, and we will talk about them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see here.
Good.
Trevor Forbes.
He's back on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board, for your consideration. Trevor Forbes, 325 North Payne Road. Just like to certainly endorse Charlie's comments there on the charging stations. I think people should be responsible for their own cost of fuel. But my point at Citizen Speak is really on the topic of Houstonic Waterworks, and I have a suggestion and a request for the Select Board to consider. It seems to me that it's that Houstonic Waterworks, with all the amount of money that needs to be spent, if the cost of that is recouped through the price of water, either in Houstonic or Great Barrington, clearly it's prohibitive for Houstonic. And if Great Barrington comes into this and tries to buy it and alter and make all the investment, I don't know why any taxpayer in Great Barrington would want to vote for a much higher water rate. I have a suggestion, because I understand that there are a number of people. We continue to watch the flow of commentary on the social media from Houstonic, and it appears, along with us, there are a lot of people considering digging a well or going for filtration. Now, what I would actually like the Select Board to consider is maybe acting on behalf of the residents of Houstonic to see whether you can actually develop, as a group aspect from the government, a good rate for well digging or for water filtration. And for those people who, you can then means test people's requests, but for those people who can't afford well digging or filtration, maybe there is a way that you could provide a grant based on a means test. for those that are less able to consider. But for those who are able to fund their own filtration or well digging, then at least if the town could actually negotiate on our behalf for a good rate for that on a bulk basis, I think that would be a positive step forward, because I don't see how you can resolve Houstonic Waterworks unless Houstonic Waterworks themselves put themselves into bankruptcy, and that forces the state to do something. My suggestion, I'd like you to consider it. Thank you.
We will take that. We're at the point now where we are considering everything, so those ideas will be written down and considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Select board time. Garfield.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate and let Charlie know and Charles Williams know that we are indeed mentioned that we would speak about putting in meters possibly regarding the new charging station. So it is being looked at.
Yes,
will be being discussed.
Yes, very good. Eric.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Ed. Lee.
Just one thing, listening to citizens speak, I want to express gratitude to everyone that is engaged and that is on this call. So, Charlie and Erica and Trevor, it's really great when we have citizens speak and we're able to listen to items that, are brought to our attention that maybe we have missed. So just encouraging citizens to keep joining select board meetings, and thank you for those that are speaking up.
Thank you. Nothing from me. Media time. Seeing nothing from media time. Motion to go into executive session. I'm getting a lot of feedback of people on mute. Thank you. Motion to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, for the following purpose: to discuss complaints brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual, OML complaint Eileen Mooney, and not to return to open session.
I make a motion to go into executive session, not to return to open session.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And I. We will not return to open session. Thank you, everyone.